guys. This is the A&P Bible, and today we are talking about anatomical terms. Please make sure that you have ticked off everything in your syllabus and you're always referring back to that, because I may not cover everything that is in your syllabus. I pretty much do cover a lot, but maybe not everything, so just double check. If you've just watched Planes of the Body with me, this is layered learning. We actually know most of this already, so let's get straight into it. Looking at our diagram here, you have the body and all the different terms that we're going to be learning today. Anatomical terms we talk about when we're doing the movement of limbs or through different types of movement. They are so important and we got to learn them. So you have over to the right here, see this lady, there's a line cutting her in half, cutting her into the front and back, also known as anterior and posterior, which we just spoke about in planes of the body. If I was taught to talk about this line as a plane of the body that splits the body into the front and the back, that plane would also be known as the frontal plane, wouldn't it? Yeah, you got that right, didn't you? And over here, this guy, he has loads of different terms attached to him. Don't freak out, we're going to learn about them. We already know one, these guys over here. We talked about a plane that cut the body into top and bottom. That plane was called the transverse or axial plane. Chops the body into top and bottom. Top and bottom in anatomy and physiology is also known as superior and inferior. Easy way to remember it. Superior is like the king, the dude in Game of Thrones, when he walks in and then all his peasants are like, nah, and then they kneel down. I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I'm sorry if I'm insulting anybody. My boyfriend would kill me hearing me talk about Games of Thrones like this, but it's the only thing that I can think about. So the king is sitting up there on his throne, he's up really, really high, and then all of his workers and peasants are inferior to him. They're below him down there bowing. So maybe that will help you. I hope he doesn't watch this. Then we're just splitting the body simply into right and left. Notice how the right is on the left of us and the left is on the right of us. This is called a mirror image. We use this when we're doing the heart as well. So please get used to looking at this like this. Technically, it's as if it's also turned around. So just don't get too confused by that. We're just touching on that. Just be aware of that one. Terms that we're going to be learning, proximal. See, this arrow is kind of going closer to the body. So the shoulder is closer to the body than the fingers. The fingers, if you lift your arm up, put your hand in front of you, your fingers are distal to your body or in the distance. I'm getting confused because the camera is confusing me. But if you lift your hand up, put your arm all the way away, your fingers are in the distance. That's known as distal. They're further away from the origin of a structure, whereas your shoulder would be proximal, which is closer to the origin of a structure. And medial and lateral. See the way the arrow is pointing in toward the body? That line is called the midline of the body. It's the middle of the body. When I did beauty therapy, we were made get a fishing line and tie a heavy rock at the end of it, and we'd hold that and we'd bring it through the midline of the body for a postural analysis, and then the client would turn to the sides. We'd have a lateral view, and we would also hold it just like this line here, and we would be able to see their postural analysis if they had rounded shoulders, if they had a forward head tilt, if their pelvis was anterior or posteriorly rotated. It was a really good way to measure postural analysis. I'm not sure what they used in other colleges. Maybe private colleges had something fancy, but we had some string and a fishing weight, which works just fine. But that's a really good way to measure postural analysis. But the midline of the body is that line that runs straight through the body. Medial means closer to the midline. Lateral means further away. Okay, medial, closer to the midline of the body. So my hand at the moment is medial. And then lateral, further away. Okay, so let's get into what they actually mean. Oopsies, I'll just go back. So when we're talking about the anatomical position, we're talking about the body in different positions. If someone is lying on the floor, their nose is face down, they're basically lying on their belly. That's known as lying prone. Lying prone. Okay, so if something is pronated, it's face down. This is my palm. I'm going to turn it down. That's known as pronation, okay? Lying prone. On the other hand, if someone is lying up, that means they're lying supine. So that's easy. See the way I've highlighted the up? So once you know supine, you'll know prone is face down. So if someone is lying on their back, palms are facing up towards the ceiling as if the anatomical position just basically fell backwards. That's known as lying supine. Now, for all of you visual learners, you would just die for my little chart that I've done up here. You would just love it. Auditory learners and kinesthetic learners, you're like, ugh, what is this? I personally hate writing on a PowerPoint. I hate when there's more than at least like 14 words. Drives me crackers. But for visual learners, you will love this. I just put this up so you can actually take a screenshot and just put it as your screensaver for the week that you're learning anatomical terms, because I know that most of you do like to do that. We'll go through it again in a different manner. So I'm moving on from this. Take a picture if you need to. We've just spoke about all these things, but please don't fret. For my other learners, we are moving on to learn them a little bit easier with pictures. So we know this already. We spoke about it when we're doing planes of the body. Front of the body means anterior. Back of the body means posterior. Again, when you're talking about the anterior part of the body, you can see the face, the chest, the abs, the front of the thighs, the toes. And then when you talk about posterior, you're looking at his heels, his calves, hamstrings, glutes, back of the skull, etc. Okay, and I just put the skeletal system there because there's different bones you can see from an anterior position and a posterior position as well. Lateral and medial, just spoke about this. If something is lateral, then it's farther away from the midline of the body. If something is medial, then it's nearer to the midline of the body. So lateral, farther away, medial, near to the midline. Superior and inferior, easy. We know this already. Chops the body into upper and lower half. And what plane does that? The transverse or axial plane splits the body into superior and inferior. Superior above, inferior below. Superficial or deep, what does that mean? When something is superficial, it's closer to the surface of the body. Think about a burn. When you get a superficial burn, it only burns the first few layers of the skin. It'll just scab over and it'll be fine. If it's a deeper burn, it may leave a scar because it's gone all the way through the skin into the different layers and may have ruined the collagen and your repair. So it may leave a scar. So that's the difference. And also, when we talk about muscles, superficial muscles, we have some muscles that overlap other muscles. So we have superficial muscles, which are closer to the surface of the body, and we have deep muscles, which are away from the surface of the body. Proximal and distal. These ones you may find the terminology may not be so common. We didn't use this in the last one, but proximal means near to the origin of a structure. If you're looking at our little guy here, proximal, like I did a while ago, is the shoulder. So it's near to the origin of a structure. And I talked about my fingers being in the distance when I put my hand up away from me. That means distal. So farther away from the origin of a structure. Quiz time! Okay, keep your attention. We're nearly there, I promise. Quick quiz time. So let's go. It may be recap, but I'm not going to say anything, up to you to answer. Let's go. The anatomical position describes the body in what stance? Go. That's correct. No, I'm only messing. Let's go through it. So your feet hip distance apart. You're in a standing facing the observer. Limbs down by the side. Palms facing forward. What plane divides the body into upper and lower? Slices the body into superior and inferior. We just said it a while ago. Transverse or axial plane. The frontal plane divides the body into. The frontal plane divides the body into anterior, which is the front, and posterior, which is the back. Farther away from the midline of the body is also known as distal, isn't it? So farther away from the midline of the body is also known as distal. Towards the head, or the upper part of the body, is also known as, we spoke about this, the king in Game of Thrones, also known as superior. What term means nearer to the origin of a structure? So we just talked about something being distal, and the opposite of distal would be closer to the origin of a structure. Starts with P. Proximal. Proximal. Good. Last set of questions and then you're done. Lying face up is known as supine. Supine. Let's say supine. Sounds better. Sounds like more up. So lying face up is supine. If something is near to the origin of structure, it is also known as, oh, we just did this one, so this should be easy. It's also known as proximal. What plane cuts the body into superior and inferior? And that plane would be the transverse or the axial plane. And then the last question, away from the head towards the lower part of the body is also known as inferior because it's below. And that's it for today, guys. Well done. Good job. That is the anatomical terms. There is a lot more, but just you're doing really, really well. Keep layered learning. So keep going back over to planes of the body, jump to anatomical terms. Make sure you click subscribe and you click that little bell so you get a notification. We'll be throwing up some recap videos as well. That'll only be about 3 minutes long. So yeah, just click the bell for that one. Okay, well done, guys.